Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back to the Player First podcast with Coach Fernando over in New York and Coach Leo here in London. So if this is the first time you're watching this podcast, welcome to the show. We have over in New York, Coach Fernando, who is the Academy Director and the head coach of Tiempo Soccer Academy, and myself, who runs the Football Domain Academy in London. So welcome back to a new episode, and I'm really excited to talk about today's episode, which we are going to be focusing about goal setting. So we'll get straight into it, because goal setting is definitely a topic that I love talking about. It's definitely something I've implemented, especially in my coaching career, since I've started my own academy. So let's get straight into it. So Coach Fernando, in terms of goal setting, when I say to you goal setting, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think of a target. I always think of a target that you want to aim at, right? You got to have something to aim towards, so you know what you're working towards. So I think as soon as I hear goal setting, I think of setting a target, setting a goal, setting a vision for yourself in the future. And that can mean a daily goal, or a week, or a month, or a year. You know, you can set it up how you want it, but I think it's just setting a target for yourself.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, what about you? What do you think of when you hear goal setting?
Goal setting is a really important one. And if this is the first time you're watching this podcast, Coach Fernando and myself have a goal of our own, which is to actually reach 1 million kids worldwide through this podcast. So our goal is to try to educate and just provide more value to serious, more specifically club players. So
Right.
That's a great question. So when I hear the word goal setting, I think of something that is long term as well. So something that requires consistency and requires definitely dedication, and something that is really important to you. Now, when I was younger, I hardly ever set goals. I remember from the age of, I would say, about 12 to maybe 17, 18, I would just go through each day, just waking up, doing what I have to do, going to bed, waking up, and just the same, like a hamster wheel.
Right.
So I never really actually sat down and said, right, where am I going in life?
Exactly.
Like, what actual direction am I going? What goal do I want to achieve? Now, when I got to the age of about 21, and I started to have a more clearer vision of my route, my path, so the coaching route that I wanted to go to, then that's when I started to set goals. And I remember I used to get a notebook like the one I got here. I just used to write down my goals. So my goals for the next 3 months. And then once I achieved those, then I'd set another new goals for the next 3 months. So it was a consistent thing of just setting goals, trying to achieve them. And that's definitely helped me as I got older, because now in everything I do, I do the same. So I'll set goals, strive, push towards them, hopefully achieve them. Sometimes I fall short, but I think if you do have goals, you have a direction, you have a purpose, which is something we talked about last week, having a purpose.
Exactly.
So when you have goals, you've got a purpose for doing something, for waking up. In the environment we work in, which is soccer, when you have specific soccer goals, then there's a purpose to your training, right? You're training to achieve them. So yeah, no, I mean, personally, I wish I was I was taught about goal setting since high school, I think.
Yeah.
Because even kids today, they aren't really taught the importance of actually setting goals.
Yeah.
Or how do you push towards goals, or what do you need to do to achieve them? So really, really important.
Yeah, I agree. I think you said a couple keywords there. I think direction, right? Direction. I think that's what goal setting is about, setting a direction for yourself so you know where you're going, right? Without a goal, you're just aimless. When you're aimless, you're not going to achieve anything. Like you said, you just sort of go on the hamster wheel of just doing stuff, doing whatever, going about your days. But if you have no longer term ideas of what you want to achieve, you're never going to get anywhere, right? You're just going to keep doing stuff and just randomly going through life. And I think it's not only happens to kids, but I think even as adults, there's a lot of adults that don't really have visions or goals or things that they set for themselves to try to achieve, to set a vision, to set a path, a direction, like you said. So I think even for the adults that are watching, I think it's important to even have goals, right? Because
100%.
For the kids doing it, they have to see the example from the adults, right? That's how kids learn. So even if you want to help your kids set goals, you gotta do it yourself, so that way they can follow your lead, you know. But yeah, 100%, it's about gaining a direction. So what do you think is? Well, I guess we're kind of talking about it, but I think that's the importance of the goal setting, right? Setting a direction for yourself, because if you don't set that direction, there's no, like I keep saying, there's no aim. There's nowhere you're going.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So without that, you're just aimless.
Yeah.
And I think that's the real importance of goal setting, right?
Yeah. So how do you set goals with your players? So when you do, I don't know, a workshop with your academy players, how do you teach them to set goals?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think there's a lot of different ways that you can set goals. There's not like one correct, always right way. Everyone's different. Everyone processes things differently. But how I like to do it with my players recently, I've been working on this with my players, is we like to have more like a general type of goal. So something that they want to achieve. And it could be either performance based. So like they just want to improve their shooting, let's just say, for example. Or it could be more results based. They want to make a certain team, or be ready for a tryout to make a certain team. So we try to split it up between the two. Is it a performance type of goal, or is it a result? You need something to happen. So we try to split it up between the two. And from there, I try to help them get really specific with what they need to do to get there, right? So we have the general idea, okay, I want to make this team, or I want to improve my shooting. But now let's hammer in, what are the exact things that you need to do to get there? Yeah. And the way I like to do that with my players is, I'm sure you guys have heard of it, well, maybe not, it's called SMART goals, right? And I've used this with my players a lot, and it's very effective, I find, for kids, as it breaks it down very easy. And if you don't know what SMART goals are, it's basically an acronym. So each letter stands for something different. So the S stands for specific, right? So let's say they want to improve shooting. All right, we know they want to improve shooting, but now let's get specific. What's something specific they can do to improve their shooting? So it could be working on the in-step finish. So just working on their in-step finish. So now we're getting really specific, what type of finish, right? And then the M stands for measurable. So it just means, can you measure it? And what I like to do with the SMART goal, or the SMART, I don't even call it SMART goal, I call it a SMART performance plan, because I don't want them to think of it in terms of a certain result. I wanted to think of it as a performance thing. Are they doing it? So here's what I mean by that. When they set a SMART plan, it would be a specific, they're going to work on their in-step finishing, and measurable is going to be, they're going to work at it for 30 minutes every day. So it's not about them actually getting the results, but it's about them doing the work. So I try to make their goals more so about the process, about doing the work, as opposed to just the end result. So that's the M, measurable. And then the A stands for attainable. All right. And that just means, is it realistic? Is it realistic? Can they get there? Right? Can you do 30 minutes of in-step finishing every day? Yes or no? Right? The R stands for relevant. Is this plan relevant to the goal? Right? Is practicing your in-step shooting 30 minutes a day, is that relevant to getting better at shooting? Yes, it is. It's going to help me get better at my shooting. And the last one is T, stands for time bound. And basically you're setting like a time for yourself. How long do you want to work on this? How long do you need to improve on this? Is it a week? Is it a month, 3 months, whatever it is? But you sort of set it up in a time specific way so that it's not just aimless. So I know that's a very complicated type of process, but I break it down for my players step by step, and we take it really slow. This is like a long process for my players so that they have a specific plan, that they know what they need to do to get better at whatever they want to get better at.
Yeah.
And that was just one example of shooting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's one way you would do it, I guess? Or
yeah, I've spoken to my players when especially during this lockdown, when we've had to go online and do like online workshops. One topic was goal setting, and we actually talked about SMART goals. And we broke it down in that manner. The only one I changed from what you talked about was the A. So I put action oriented.
I like that.
So all the activities you do, are they oriented towards the actual goal?
Right.
So that means that every action you do daily, is that getting you towards your goals, or is that getting you away from it? So I don't know.
Right.
Playing hours and hours of PlayStation, is that getting you an inch closer, or is that just holding you back? You know, right. Some kids might argue it gets them closer. But
they'll all find a way to argue for that point.
Especially when it's to do with Fortnite.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
My God. They take that very personal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also it's important, again, to make the difference between like a result type of goal and a performance type of goal. I always try to make sure that the goal is performance related, but it can still have a result with it. So the reason I like to do a performance based is because it's actionable, kind of like what you said. It's their goal is related to their actions, and as long as they're doing their actions, they're gonna achieve their goal, right? So it's not. I don't want them to think about, I don't know. Let's say juggling. Let's take juggling. I think that's an easy example. Some of my players had like a goal.
Let me stop you right there. So for the British audience,
kick-ups.
It's not juggling like in a circus. It's actually.
Oh, I forget my audience. Kick-ups are juggling. We call it juggling here a lot.
There we go.
You're a good point though. Good catch. Those cultural differences here. So when it comes to that, kick-ups, some of my kids had goals with that, and they wanted to get to 100, let's just say. And so while the goal is they want to get to 100, that's a result, right? That's the result that they want.
Yeah.
But I try to make sure that they focus on the performance. So we take that result and we go, okay, how can we have our actions lead to that? And let's just focus on the actions. So we would make a smart plan or a smart goal. And it would be juggle or do kick-ups for 30 minutes, 4 days a week, for example. And as long as they do 4 days a week of 30 minutes kick-ups, they can say, I achieved my goal, right? Even if they don't get to the 100, because it's about the performance. Because I know eventually, even if they don't get it right away, if they keep going, they'll get it, right? They'll get it, whether it's in a week or a few months. If they keep focused on the actions, on the performance, they'll achieve the result.
Yeah, that's that's interesting actually. Yeah, nice, a good point. Nice. So a way I do it, that when I've coached my players on goal setting, we actually focus on the SMART goals. But I want to talk a bit about a different way that I do it, because I think this is more related to maybe older players, because it's definitely something I use. So my one is a bit different, but it still has like 5 different, shall we say, pieces to it.
Okay.
So basically, I write down my goals twice a day. So when I wake up in the morning, on the piece of paper, I would write goals AM, and then I set myself at least 3 goals. And these are goals that I would say unachievable. Like, they're really big goals.
Okay.
And this could be goals in business, this could be goals in my personal life, or if I'm playing on a Thursday with my friends, to become a better player,
to get some playing time.
Yeah, to get more playing time. Unachievable.
Coach is going to say, no, sorry, Leo, you got the bench.
Exactly. So cheers, Fernando. That's my confidence has just dipped.
You're lucky I'm not your coach. You're lucky I'm not your coach.
That's it. So when I wake up in the morning, I write down my goals. So 3 specific long-term goals, which are hard to achieve and sometimes even unrealistic. But if I have really big goals, then I get excited, because I'm like, wow, like, what do I have to do to achieve that? The next bit to the piece of paper that when I write down is I write a quote of the day. So I'm personally a person that loves quotes. So I usually sometimes make up my own quotes, or I'll research someone else's and I'll write it down. So a quote that will motivate me for the day. And then the third one is I set targets for the day. So the targets for the day are the achievable ones.
Okay.
And this could be very simple. This could be like waking up before my alarm clock. This could be making sure I arrive on time at the office. This could be making sure I follow up with parents. Just stuff like that I know are going to get me towards those big goals that I've set in my goals AM. Then once we get into the evening, I'll write my successes. So successes of the day. So my 3 successes of the day, that something I achieved. And this could be personal, this could be business, this could be sport. And I always focus on 3. So 3 things I've achieved in the day, and that just gets me thinking that, okay, I've actually had a productive day. I haven't been wasting time.
Right. Right. Like, you got more playing time.
There we go, Fernando. There we go. Cool. And then before I go to bed in the evening, I'll write my long-term goals again.
Cool.
So goals PM will be the same goals in the morning. and that just keeps me motivated. That's just like big ones that I want to get closer to. So that's basically how I break down when I set goals. I break it down like that. But I do believe for kids, it's definitely more the smart way that you do. Definitely works better with younger kids, especially youth players.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No, but I do like, I like what you said. It was interesting. And I think for older players that could make sense too, because I think having more, I guess, bigger goals that are not something you're going to accomplish today, when you write that down and you're writing it down all the time, every day, every night, like you do, you do it twice a day, that repetition of seeing it, writing it, those big unrealistic goals that you're not going to get to today, but one day you'll get to, that's going to, like you said, it'll keep them excited, right? It'll keep you going. It'll remind you of where you're going, what you're trying to do in the long term.
Yeah.
So I think that's really good for the older players that are a little more serious or have bigger goals in the game, for sure.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. And I actually did start doing, I didn't start doing a quote of the day, but from time to time lately, I've just had different quotes or things or sayings that have come up in my brain.
Yeah.
And I like it. So what I do, I've been posting them on my social media lately because I like the things that pop into my brain sometimes, and I just like to share it.
Yeah.
And it's little things, little quotes that just motivate me or keep me going. I think that's a good little strategy too. But I think the best thing you do is just the repetition. Just consistently writing them down. Them down. It's going to be ingrained in your brain, and you're going to achieve those things, because you're constantly seeing it. And when you constantly see something, you're more likely to achieve it.
Yeah.
One of the things I do with my players too is we do so it's like a little project. And basically the project is they have to create like a poster or some type of banner that they can hang up in their room.
Yeah.
And the banner is basically a question that they need to read to themselves every day. And the question is, what did you do today to achieve your dreams?
Wow, I like that.
What did you do today to achieve your dreams? And I have my players make a poster, and I tell them, make it nice, make it however you want. Put pictures of yourself playing soccer, your teammates, players you like, quotes, whatever motivates you.
Yeah.
Put it on this banner, but in big letters, have that question. What did you do today to achieve your goals or your dreams? And put that somewhere in your room, above your bed, on your ceiling, anywhere you're going to read it every day. Yeah. Whether when you wake up or when you go to bed, I want you to read that. Read that to yourself every day.
Yeah.
And the more you think about that, or you see that every day, the repetition, the more likely you're going to do something about those goals. The more likely you're going to take action, right? So I think the repetition is really, really key.
Yeah, 100%. And I've done the same.
Perfect, on the shirt. And that stuff works. That stuff works because it's a reminder. Exactly. It's a reminder every day, and when you're constantly reminded, you're going to do something about it. Yeah. But if players don't see that, like, oh, well, what did I do today to achieve my goal? If they don't see that, if they don't question, they don't think about their goals, they're not going to achieve those things because it's out of sight, out of mind,
Yeah. And something as well is that when most people set goals, they set goals that are realistic, right? They set goals that they can achieve.
Good point, yeah.
And I think that sort of closes your mind down into actually not fulfilling your potential. Because if you just set goals that you will achieve, there's no real satisfaction. There's nothing that's going to actually drive you or push you, motivate you to keep going. Because you're going to reach it and then, oh yeah, I've achieved my goal. And then what next? Whereas if you set a really big one that, tomorrow, next week, next month, or maybe in a year's time, you're not going to achieve, then that should motivate you. That should keep you going. And you're going to, if you do pursue it, you're going to advance slowly towards it, and you will see a difference
Yes.
in your life, in whatever
Yeah.
you're doing. But I think that sometimes when I've coached that to players or clients that I work with, sometimes they ask me, but doesn't that take away the purpose of goal setting? Because isn't goal setting supposed to be something that you achieve? And I say to them, yeah, of course, but you need something that's exciting, because then
Sure.
you're just going to get bored, because you know you're gonna achieve it, and you're just and
Right.
really and truly that's staying comfortable more than anything else.
100%. Yeah. No, I agree. I think that's why there's different ways to set goals, right? There's different methods to it. And I think you need a little bit of both. You need those more so daily or weekly or monthly type of goals that are realistic, that you can achieve. But then you also need those bigger vision, long-term. Nah, I'm not going to achieve this in a month, maybe not even a year or two. Maybe it'll take 3, 4, 5 years. Who knows? But you got to have those visions, those goals in your mind. You got to write them down, because you're right. If you don't have those longer term things in play, you're not going to get excited about the small stuff, the small goals, the weekly, the monthly goals. It's not going to be exciting anymore, because it's those little goals. They're achievable. They're great. Once you do it, it's great. But when you remember why you're doing this stuff, because you have those longer term goals, you're going to stay excited about it. You're going to stay excited throughout the process. Yeah. And it's funny you say that, because I completely agree. I read a quote, speaking of quotes, I read a quote the other day that I don't know the exact way it went, but it was something along the lines of, being realistic is the quickest way to mediocrity. Right? Being realistic is the quickest way to mediocrity, which basically means if you're always just being super realistic, you're like you said, you're going to stay comfortable, and you're going to be mediocre. You're not going to push yourself past your limits. You're going to push yourself past what you can achieve, right? What's possible. But if you're always just thinking of being very realist, you're not going to push yourself. You're not going to achieve those crazy dreams that you have. You have to be a little unrealistic, a little out there with your goals. Muhammad Ali had this quote. I'm full of quotes today.
Good. I like them. I love them.
He said, if your goals don't scare you, they're not big enough.
Yeah.
You know, and I love that. I love that. Your goals should be scary to you. Like, oh my God, I can achieve that. That should excite you. It should be kind of scary. It should, it should get your emotions going when you have big goals. They should feel exciting, scary. You should have those emotions to your goals.
Yeah. 100%. And for youth players, for kids, I think setting small goals each day should be like the first step, right? Or maybe even writing down what you achieve in the day, so your successes, because every day we are succeeding at something. Now, sometimes we don't even realize it. Like we win at things that we don't take, we take for granted. But then when you actually look back at it and you actually study and you actually analyze, you think, do you know what? Wow, like that was actually a win. But what we always tend to do is when we think of wins, it's like we only focus on the wins that are important to us. Whereas if we actually write down what we achieve every day, you actually see the bigger picture and you think to yourself, do you know what? I'm actually winning every day at least one thing. And that one thing could be I'm waking up on time.
I was just going to say that.
That's probably one of the hardest things to start the day.
You got to be very disciplined to do that stuff. So that's a huge win in my opinion. Especially for youth players.
So as a youth player, I think the best way to begin with is just simply write down what you win at every day. So arriving on time at school, listening to the teacher, asking a question when maybe you don't usually ask questions, completing a homework before the deadline, if it's soccer related, arriving on time to training, putting 100% effort in, or saying something positive to a teammate who you normally don't say anything to.
Right.
You know, just like really simple, basic things that are wins.
Yeah.
And it's easy. You just get a piece of paper. Sorry, this is a pen, not paper.
Get a piece of
This
paper.
is a paper, right? And just write it down, like at least 3 wins each day.
Yeah, that's a great point for the youth players out there. Start small, basically. Start with the small things. The small things lead to the bigger things. That's one thing I always tell my players. If you want to be successful and you have these big goals and you have these big dreams, or if you want to be a division champion on your team, you want your team to be successful, or your team has to do all the small things, right? They have to do all the little things, right?
Yeah.
Showing up on time, helping your teammates when they struggle with something, speaking to your coach on what you need to improve on. These little things make the big things work. Yeah. So it's doing the small things and recognizing, you're right, you got to recognize that you're doing those small things, because that's going to help you lead to the big things.
Yeah, 100%. Like even myself today, like there's things I do every day that are wins, but I don't actually realize.
Yeah. I mean, you don't think about it at a certain point. You know, you don't tend to stop and realize that those things are actually really positive, right? Those things that you're doing are helping you, and they may be small today, but over time, if you keep doing it, those are big wins. They turn into big wins.
Yeah, perfect. Like it. Okay, awesome. So before we wrap up, here's a question for you. So what is your method for setting goals? Do you do anything different to how you teach your players? Anything you could share with us?
Yeah. So personally, similar to you, I like the repetition that you do. I don't repeat my goals daily like I should, but I like to have bigger, longer term goals. At least one business related goal, one personal type of goal, and one other goal. So I like to have 3 main bigger goals that are kind of like you said, like unrealistic, or they may take just a long time. Yeah. Right. So 3 bigger goals that I kind of have, and you can have more or less, but that's just the number that sticks to me. It's 3. And from there, I just do like monthly goals. So the one thing I've been doing lately is monthly. I just go month to month. Yeah. So I basically set my goals for the month. They could be big, they could be small, but it's things that I want to achieve that month. And there's certain things that are really achievable. There are certain things that I should achieve them. Yeah. And then there are certain things that are, okay, this one's going to be kind of tough this month, but I'm going to try for it. Right? I'm going to push myself to try to get there. And then basically at the end of the month, I look at it and I say, okay, what did I achieve? What didn't I achieve? And the things that I achieved, those are the wins, right? Like we were talking about. The things that I couldn't achieve, I slide them into next month, right? We just move it along, we keep progressing on them. We don't just give up on them. Yeah. So that's the one thing I like to do. So I have my big goals, bigger vision, bigger type of unrealistic type of goals. And then for more realistic, I go month to month.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Awesome.
Yeah. And that goes along with daily, like I plan my days. I go daily schedules, and I make sure I keep my month's goals in mind. I have them written down on my whiteboard. I keep my month's goals in mind. And then on a daily, I try to do something that helps me get towards those goals.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. And what one goal of yours is to avoid rain on Fridays, right?
Oh my goodness, man. You're giving me the London weather. It's insane. For those of you that don't know, ever since we started this podcast about five or 6 weeks ago, it's rained every single time we've had this little podcast. And I run sessions in the morning here, and every single time I've either had to cancel, reschedule, or we've just done it in the rain.
Yeah.
So you're giving me that London weather, man. You've passed it on.
Well, I'll give you the London weather. You give me the good weather.
Take my good New York weather.
That's it. Okay, awesome, Fernando. We'll start to wrap up now.
Yes.
Thank you, as always, for your time.
Thank you, man.
I
We
know
do this
you're a
together.
very busy man.
You as well. You as well. We do it together.
We do it together. We do indeed. We do what we can.
That's it.
So if you're watching and you want to connect with us, we're going to share all our social media links, our email. So any questions you have, you can reach out to us. Make sure you give Fernando a follow, especially on his Instagram. He always puts some very funny stories up.
I try to keep it entertaining.
That's it. So make sure you give Fernando a follow, and my academy as well, the Football Domain Academy, on Instagram and on Facebook as well. You're on Facebook, correct, as well, right?
Yeah. On Facebook, I'm mostly active on Facebook, but you'll catch me on Instagram too. I've been more active there as well.
Okay, so if you have any questions, please reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to answer them, whether that be on an actual podcast or directly.
Right. Yeah, 100%. We're going to feed off the energy of what you guys, would like to hear about, or if you have any questions. So reach out to us. We're definitely very open to hearing from you guys.
Lovely. All right, Coach Fernando, have a fantastic week, and we'll catch up again.
Yeah, let's do it again next week.
Take care.
You too.